Well, with the government shutdown looking more like a possibility next week, Utah's making plans to minimize the impact. Smaller towns near our 5 national parks rely on tourists coming through, and a shutdown would definitely hurt those communities. But as Alex Cabrera reports, Utah is once again going to fund those parks to keep them open.
It's one of Utah's most popular and iconic symbols, something everyone should get the chance to see at least once.
It's worth keeping the parks open.
Which is part of why Utah Governor Spencer Cox announced during his monthly news conference the state will pay to keep the national parks open, even if the federal government shuts down next week.
It's so important to these shoulder communities that rely on the parks as the lifeblood.
It's exactly what Utah did during the last long shutdown back in 2013, when the state paid to keep the national parks open so those neighboring mom-and-pop restaurants, hotels, and shops wouldn't suffer.
For those that remember, Governor Herbert was able to negotiate with the Department of Interior and sign an agreement to keep the parks open. And Utah funded that to the tune of about $1 million over those 35 days. We never did get reimbursed for it. Congress was supposed to do that and never did. So those are the kind of partners that we're dealing with.
You can tell his frustration with the system, but feels Utah must do it again, even if the state doesn't get reimbursed.
We believe we can do that with existing funds without having to call a special session.
Of course, if the federal government shutdown lasts longer than it did 10 years ago, a special session might be called to take a look at it. But for now,
we think we have enough right now that we can do that, and then we can adjust the budget next year in January when we come back together.
If Congress doesn't figure it out, the shutdown is set to begin October 1st. Alex Cabrera, KSL 5 News.